Hey guys, I'm Tim.
And I'm Bob.
Andrew.
And Dan.
And Dan.
I'm
And
Andrew.
this is a Board Game Rundown. Today, we are going to review Marvel Dice Throne from the OP. This plays 2 to 4 players. You can play 1v1. You can play a King of the Hill variant, which is 3, right? So 1-on-1-on-1. And there's like a couple different rules. I haven't played the King of the Hill. You guys sampled the King of the Hill a little bit at Gen Con.
Well, King of the Hill is just free for all, except that you have to attack the person with the highest health or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Like
Sure.
that's why it's called King of the Hill. It's like a balancing mechanism.
Perfect. Great. And then you can play teams like 2v2.
Correct. But first,
Yes.
they should be liking, subscribing, ring the bell, share these videos, find us on Discord and Facebook and everything else.
Of course.
Yes.
So Dice Throne, the Marvel version, it is it is Dice Throne,
Yep.
right? It is Dice Throne with a Marvel theme. I say that, and I don't mean to sound dismissive, because actually these characters, just like regular Dice Throne, all play independently and completely unique of one another. I don't feel I've played all but one of the characters out of the 6 that are available, and none of them feel repetitive. Now,
8.
Oh, is there a 6 or 8? 8, 2, 4, 6, 8. 8 of the characters. Sorry, excuse me. I played 7 of the 8 characters, and none of them feel repetitive. Now, like the magic users tend to do
Similar things.
similar, but still different. I feel like everybody kind of does their own thing enough. And then essentially, I mean, it's they give you these really great player aids, and they're in short and sweet. It breaks it down really well.
Yeah.
There's an upkeep phase where you resolve status effects. Income phase, you get a combat point, draw a card. Super easy. Then you got a main phase. So you can like play cards from your hand, which you will pay if they've got a cost with your combat points. You can sell cards. So that's just basically discarding a card for a combat point. And or you can play the cards, right? And you might be upgrading abilities. You might be doing different things.
You could have instant reaction.
Yeah, and they've
cards.
got, and on the cards themselves, they even do a really good job of having like the main phase icon, a die icon if it's for a roll phase, whether it's offensive, defensive, or even targeting. And then there are the exclamation points on those cards that can be played at any time.
But to boil this down, this is a Yahtzee battler. I mean, that's
Yeah,
what
yeah.
it felt like. It's
Yeah, I mean,
3 rolls of dice.
asymmetric Yahtzee battler.
kind of, similar to King of Tokyo in
Yes.
spirit,
Yes.
but very different. Very different. And then you do have these great player boards, which we'll talk more about in components, but that's basically going to tell you what all of your abilities can do. And then each character has their own card here on the side that breaks down everything that it does. It's very clear, not only on like what all your die faces are and what the odds of rolling them are, but what all of your abilities do. And on the backside, there are rules,
Like
clarifications.
tips and,
There's even a little complexity marker here. Like, so I played Doctor Strange. He has a complexity of 5. So, and then it gives you like a little bio, and stuff. If you like to read, what maybe you're not as
Super
familiar.
clean. Yeah.
Maybe you're not as familiar with one of the characters or something. So you could read their little lore thing. And then, each character comes with their own unique set of dice. They come,
Kind of unique. They all follow the same format.
They're all
just have-
6-sided.
Thanks.
no, but,
They all have 1, 2, 3 of one
No.
type. Really?
No.
Oh.
2, 2, 1, 1.
Okay.
3, 1, 1, 1.
Okay. I stand corrected.
Well, you're sitting, but yes.
It's just that ours are the same.
I sit corrected.
So he thought
right.
that.
But 3, 2, 1, over here. So everybody plays uniquely. And I really appreciate that from a design aspect. And also, I do feel like that this game will reward you for trying out different characters, because you could play with one character and maybe they're a dud for you. But if you play around and try out some of the other characters, you might find a character that actually works for you pretty well.
Right.
And I'll get more into that, I guess, when we get into like final thoughts and everything. But before we do that, why don't we do components? What's in the box? So first off, for the price point on this game, components are fantastic. You got these amazing trays. They come in, they hold everything, they close together like nice and tightly.
You have a little booklet, your own little thing just for your own character.
Each character's got their own tray. And yeah, I love the way that it folds out, personally, I don't like the art style. Like, I don't like the way the faces are drawn. I think the couple of characters that are in costume, they look fine to me. But for whatever reason, I had this problem with Dice Throne art in general. Also, I think the colors are vibrant and beautiful. The cards are well made. I like the health dials. I like the combat point dials.
This kind of art reminds me of that Imperium Legends and Imperium Classics game that we played.
little bit.
really?
I don't know. I like that art, and I don't like this art.
Is it because you have an attachment to like Marvel superheroes?
Normal
Because
art.
I have no attachment to.
No, I think everybody's got
superheroes.
like these teardrop faces, and I don't know. Like
Sure.
everybody's
The
got
Legends
those.
game was also more like I don't know if grungy is the right word, right? But
Yeah.
like it
Yeah.
was like
Dirtier
dirtier.
kinda,
It
yeah.
was this very polished.
I just don't like I just don't think I like maybe it's an uncanny valley kind of thing where like
Okay.
I just don't like the way any of their faces look. But
But yeah, Black Panther looks
and,
cool.
and Spider-Man,
Oh,
I mean, they're wearing masks. Maybe that's
And they
different,
look better.
you
for
know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
but
I don't mind it. I don't love the pointy chin look in anime,
Correct.
which is unfortunately a lot of the females in this game. Like Loki has a rounded chin. I like Doctor Strange actually quite a bit. I think he looks cool. Even Spider-Man has a bit of a pointy chin.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
like that look. But yeah, like Black Panther, Doctor Strange, Loki, I think they all look really good, like to me.
but you know,
Well, really quick, flip over your page.
Uh-huh.
I have illustrations for Spider-Man by Manny Tremblay and Nick Millara. Do you have a different
illustrations,
illustrator?
Manny Tremblay and Nick Millara.
It was
Okay.
gonna be all together.
Because your Doctor Strange does look a little bit different artistically than
Sure.
the other pointy chinned.
Maybe it's because he got facial hair, so they had to square
They
that,
had to square it
square
out.
that chin out a little bit.
Yeah.
Down.
Didn't think we were going to get into this.
Manny-
No,
in the
but I will
review,
say,
but-
Sure.
yeah,
so
sure.
so because we're in the weeds on like, oh, I don't like the way their faces look, is just a compliment to how good the components are.
Very
Sure.
good.
Yeah,
Very
You know,
good.
because
Pick
like
that.
I've
Very
got
good.
to go in the weeds to find something that I don't like about the components. I think that the dice trays are amazing, or the
Player trays.
your player trays are amazing. And
Yeah.
the way
Spinners are
Agreed.
not loose.
No,
They're
and
not,
it
like,
comes
going on
like
the wrong
this.
comes
one.
pre-assembled, which is kind of nice.
you know, and everything fits very well in the trays. It's very clear where everything goes. It all goes in very well. And I will also say, while we're talking about components, one aspect of this, right, is that you can buy that main box, or you can buy like a 2 character pack.
Yeah, which are standalone.
That's what I was going to say.
Oh, okay.
No,
Very
yeah,
cool.
I think that's great because while when Dice Throne originally came out, it wasn't clear to me that those were standalone. And I thought, well, that's kind of dumb. Like you got to buy
The main game.
the main game and then they're going to just sell, they're going to, you know, meet these out 2 at a time. Like, oh, but the fact that they are standalone, awesome. Like, let's just say that Bob didn't buy, when he buys a game, buy everything for the game.
Let's just say that.
But let's just say Bob had the core game and it's like, man, you know, I really, really like Doctor Strange.
Right.
I could just buy the box that's got the character for Doctor Strange.
Yep.
It's literally like $10 a character. So
Yeah.
it's not bad.
Yeah.
And I could roll over to Bob's house and be like, hey, buddy, like, let's play Dice Throne. And it's like, here's my character.
Yeah, you
What?
can play it at
And
your
those
house
boxes,
and you can bring it. Yeah.
those
Mhm.
boxes are going to be balanced to play against each
Yes,
other.
they
It's
are
not gonna be-
purposely
Yeah.
matched up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I really like, they really brought me around on that. Because originally I think with the first
Mhm.
thing of Dice Throne, because then it's like, well, I do like to have everything and I got to go out and get all this. But really, no, for the value of the quality of the components and everything, and if it's a game you like, it's the value makes sense.
Yeah.
Like it's there.
$10 a character for a great tray. Everything holds everything together. It's not bad.
Yeah, really well
Mhm.
well made.
Mhm.
You know, the dice are really good. You know, game.
One thing for me, art wise, is I don't feel like the abstract art on the cards fits the same style.
Sure,
as the game.
agreed.
That's
Yeah.
a weird juxtaposition. They look fine to me, and that looks fine to me. It's kind of just weird having them together.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Different
that's not
style.
a negative, right? But it's just like, I don't know. They just don't look. I
Like,
mean, these two
why
cards.
does that mean draw 2 cards?
right.
you
Right.
know?
Well, like, so these 3 cards are all from the same deck.
Mhm.
Right, and they just look like they're not, and that's, you know, so that's just a little
And
weird.
everybody has got like a certain amount of like same cards in their hand,
Right.
right? Everybody's got stuff that
Oh.
manipulates the die, and they all look the same. But then, right, like clearly, I've got like for Doctor Strange here, time after time, which will allow me
And
to
I've
gain
got
a
Spider-Man cards.
Right.
And that means that it's a cost-effective thing if they print all the draw one cards together and then they separate 6
Right.
in every deck or whatever, right? So
Yeah.
it makes sense. But it would have been nice if my draw one was Scarlet Witch themed, you know,
Uh-huh.
and your
Right.
draw
Or at
one was
least
Doctor
colored
Strange
thematically.
Right,
Like yours were
exactly,
red
Yeah.
and mine were.
I mean, it does say on the side here, right? So Panther. So it's like
no,
that way
no,
you know who
no.
which
I mean,
card goes
so
in what deck.
so that is a good thing, right? If for some reason all the cards
Right.
Get
somehow, and there's
shuffled.
really
Well, I'm
no
planning on
way
it.
they should get mixed up. But if
Dang.
they did ever get mixed up,
Right.
Sure.
they are
have kids.
they do have the thing on the sides that'll tell you the version.
Yep.
So if it's a reprint,
Right. A reprint or
Right.
like errata.
and then the numbered card and whose deck it goes in. So they do a lot of things really well.
Yep.
I guess
Very
long
impressed
story short.
with the components, though.
The rule book is there's a few weird things, like when we were trying to play 4-player, so 2v2, we were looking, since we all were familiar with the game, or most of us were familiar with the game, at least conceptually. Some of us played it more than others, but we went right to the 2v2 rules,
Right.
and it did not explain there or even have a reference on the difference in how combat is,
How you choose
how
a target.
defenders and
Yeah.
combat are determined.
Mhm.
So that drastically affected,
A couple rounds.
I would say
First two.
85% of our gameplay
For sure.
of that game.
It meant that characters, especially mine and yours, the magic people,
Right.
but it meant that some characters weren't able to get their like engine built. The way that they work wasn't procking because
Yes.
of that. And so
Yes.
that drastically changed.
Yes.
things.
And your engine even more than mine. Now I did it, I would have definitely gained things.
Right.
But not as many.
Sure.
Because I actually had some damage prevention where yours doesn't actually prevent damage, but it does give you these status effects that you either can give to other people or yourself.
Right. Which is kind of her whole thing.
It is 100% her whole thing.
Yeah.
Agreed. But that is a what I would say a fault of the rule book and also a fault of ours, right? We didn't go through
The
and
entire thing.
the entire thing. But again, the game is so easy to teach that I don't always feel like you need to break out the rule book
yeah.
for that sort of thing.
But you do.
Now we know,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
also, I think Dan. Well, you got to say what you said. While
I was
go
just
ahead and
gonna
say.
say, I just don't understand not having a reference page number thing there. Just saying, because where the rule was explained in the rule book made sense. You
Yes.
get to the end, it breaks down an entire turn summary. In depth, goes over everything. This is great. This is awesome. And in that section, it talks about how the combat thing is determined. That's cool. But in the really quick breakdown of what's different in a 2v2 game, it should probably mention, hey, how you pick defenders in combat is different. See page X.
Yeah.
That's all it had to say was one sentence.
And it doesn't even mention that.
It doesn't even mention that it's different.
No.
yeah, and it's massively different.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Now, again, though, I guess I've played this enough that that did not color my experience. I get it if it would color your guys.
You've played it a lot 1v1.
I have.
Yeah.
I have played it a lot 1v1. And what's funny, and I'll get to it more in final thoughts, is some of my feelings about it playing 1v1 versus 2v2.
right.
But-
I mean, I'll say it colored my experience of this game, but that doesn't color my experience of the game.
Yeah.
Right.
No, totally fair.
Sure.
That's what I guess. That's what.
Right.
Right. But components wise, right? I really like the cards you lay out as you upgrade your abilities. I think all of that is really nice. It's kind of neat. They can slide around, but it's not the end of the world because you're
Well,
not
yeah,
really
they say
doing,
where they go.
You're
on
not,
them,
yeah,
too.
you're not
Yeah,
really putting
it's
anything on there.
very
to slide
clear.
it.
Yeah.
It's fine.
So, any other things on components before we go to
Nope.
final thoughts?
I don't think so. Yeah.
Oh, insert right is amazing.
Oh yeah, I
That's
figured
it.
that was just
Yeah,
covering
yeah,
it.
yeah, the
It's
insert.
I mean-
basically 6 inserts in one or
It is.
whatever.
It
or-
is. The box is an empty box, and these trays fit perfectly in it. They are
Right.
their own insert.
Very clean.
Characters are self-contained.
Very clean.
I guess
Yeah.
just so we are clear on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I really enjoy
10
the
out of
book,
10.
and I do with a lot of my games where you're playing with multiple people, whatever. Like, oh, this character's in this bag. This
Yeah,
character's
just
in
put
this
this.
bag.
Yeah.
What was funny though is
I'll always do that.
I was playing this with Justin, right? And I put my characters away like this, and every time, and he was the person I played it with the most. Every time he'd be like, boop, boop.
Oh.
And I'm like, what are you doing? And I would go
Do you
through.
even?
I would go through every time. I'm like, come on, dude.
You're
And I
fired.
think one time he even was like, oh, okay.
Oh,
and I'm
my
like, you've got to be messing
You're
with
banned
me.
from the show.
You've got to be messing with
do
me.
you,
the
do you
show.
watch? Are you
It was
watching? No,
terrible.
Don't do that.
It brought that game. It brought the game down to a 4 for me.
Yeah, that checks out.
But anyways,
Don't push too hard. You're kind of caught up there.
oh, I don't know what's going on there. There we go.
There you go.
But anyways, yeah, the insert's amazing. Just put it away there, nice, so it looks nice and displayed when you open it up,
Yeah,
right?
looks good.
All right, let's go into final thoughts.
Final thoughts.
Bobby,
Yeah.
what are your final thoughts on this game?
I think that calling it, combat Yahtzee is pretty accurate, right? It's the same pretty much thing. I've played the standard Dice Throne. Wasn't really blown away. We were playing, I think, a 4-player game and like a free for all. And in my opinion, when you play these types of like skirmishy kind of fighting games, I much prefer to do like a 2v2. So
I've come around to your line of thinking on that.
because that way you've got basically us or them, and it's not like you're not king making anybody, you're not like the game's not dragging out because you're just kind of attacking like one person who's like got the most or whatever. Like you're focusing all of your energies in the same place. And I much prefer doing those types of games that way. And I'm glad that there are rules for that. Dan's right about the rule book. It didn't need to break it down a second time, but just reference that other page number. Like
Say,
just
hey.
see page X. solve so
FYI,
many
combat
problems.
is different with this mode.
Yep.
Right.
Like it could really use that. But as far as Dice Throne, I do enjoy the Marvel version a lot more than the normal version, probably because I like Marvel stuff. So
Sure.
that definitely does help. I feel like the characters are thematic, right? Like my Black Panther dude was pretty cool. I liked how some of his abilities worked. He felt a little limiting, but like once Dan kind of looked online and saw like what kind of the strategies were and stuff like that, I was like, okay, I see how that does work, and it makes a little bit more sense that I can do more damage. I felt like I wasn't able to defend much of anything. Yeah, I was hitting back, but I wasn't like stopping much of the damage. But I had a pretty good time. I don't think I would have had as much fun, like I was saying, if we would have done like individually or anything like that. I would much prefer it in a team setting. And I think it's a smart how they package it all, right? Basically, it's like $10 a character. You can buy them just one expansion with the character you want, and you can basically just play those two. You don't need to buy the core game. I think that's it's smart marketing.
Really nice way to get people into the game.
Yeah. So like $20 you can get into the game. And that's pretty good. Not my favorite. Like I said, not my favorite Dice Throne, but it is my favorite Dice Throne version, but not my favorite Marvel game, I guess.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I would say that too. Andrew.
Yeah, sure. So I have no investment in superhero stuff. I never watched these movies as a kid, so I'm just kind of coming in. I've seen the original Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire.
Yeah.
I didn't even see the sequel. Like I have no.
Oh, you missed the best one.
Investment. I remember one where he's like walking down the street wearing all black.
No. Stop
Totally.
talking. Stop
Yeah,
talking
That's
about
all I
that.
remember.
didn't happen.
Was that the second one?
Alternate
or
universe.
No, that's
or-
the third
third
one.
one.
That's the
Okay.
third one.
Yeah.
It's not cool.
Anyway, so I don't follow the evolution of the Marvel DC, especially with all the movies that are coming out.
Wow.
So I just took it for the game that it was, and these are just characters that mean nothing to me. The presentation, beautiful. Asymmetry felt fine. I didn't.
Yeah.
There was no like glaringly strong. I think you were glaringly weak with defense. That kind of sucked.
Had we been
because of the rules.
had we been playing it actually correctly, you would have seen Scarlet Witch. Scarlet Witch is one of my favorite characters.
Sure.
And she, when allowed to perform the way that she should, is pretty amazing.
I mean, I literally got 2 stat effects the whole game.
Yeah. And then we immediately removed it.
Recently, I've been getting into like just 1v1 kind of games with asymmetry, and this just checks a box. I'm not a big fan of the Yahtzee, like 3 rolls and you're done. And there have been games where the dice manipulation is stronger. There are a couple cards here where it's just like, get another roll. And it was like, oh, that's all I can do in terms of dice manipulation. There's a couple really powerful cards that allow me to change 2 dice to whatever I want.
Yeah.
But there have been other dice rolling games where I've felt more in control of my dice. But other than that, this is right up my alley. I love dice rolling games. I love asymmetry, and I love facing off against one team or one person. So, overall, I had a good time.
Sure.
Good time.
That's good. That's good. Daniel,
Is this cross-playable with Dice Throne?
I believe it is.
Okay, that's awesome. Because for some reason I've always wanted to play the cowboy in Dice Throne. I think.
Oh, sure.
I
The
think he looks
gunslinger
awesome.
kind of
Yeah.
character. Yeah.
So I enjoy the game. It is fun. Spencer and I have played a game called Kapow, which is semi-similar, but has a bit more going on, has customizable dice, like dice realms and stuff like that in it too. And I feel like the slight more depth on that one is more interesting than this one. Honestly, you know what just would really up this game for me is I wish that every character just had like a passive ability that was always active.
Well,
you know,
there are
Not
yeah,
every
I
character,
guess
but
kind
some
of like
characters.
that. But I don't know, like Loki has his you have those 3
You still have to have
cards.
illusion to
Exactly.
do it.
That should just be a passive.
Oh,
That is
sure.
so thematic and so cool,
Sure.
and it happens 3 times in a game.
Yeah.
And like having passive abilities that proc like every turn that do a really interesting thematic thing. You kind of have a passive with adjusting your Book of Ashanti
Oh, sure.
or Vishanti, however, whichever word it is. But like that is a cool thematic thing you do where you're adding spells to your book and you can go through your book at any time and cast the spell on your turn. Like that's really cool. I just wish there was more of this passive stuff and not just relying on this dice. Like you have to roll what you need to activate what you need to get the status effect that you need to proc the status effect that you need to then re-get the ability that you need. Like, geez.
It's a lot of random that has
There's
to line
a
up.
lot of steps to that. Yeah, that are all random. Like you're saying, like there's
More control
manipulation
over your dice.
Yeah, there's manipulation here, and I don't hate the manipulation that's in here. Maybe a bit more manipulation would be nice, but like at the same time, I
Or
don't
more
feel
card
like
draw
it's
would be
terrible.
nice too.
More
I feel
card
like
draw is a big
I feel like I
problem,
only
too.
access
Yeah.
five cards a game.
I mean, my first turn as Scarlet Witch was a huge blast that took every card in my hand, and now I'm drawing 1 card per turn for the rest of the game. I had 1 card in my hand for the rest of the game after the first turn.
Do you have any abilities that
That's
drew you cards?
crazy.
a
I
couple
never
of
used
those.
one. I never rolled when I needed it. So there's one that lets me draw 1 card. That's it. There's one ability that lets me draw 1 card. And yeah, with having like an explosive turn like that,
Just leaves you empty.
you just feel out for a long time. So then it's like, is it worth the risk? Like, should I just do less damage now so that I have more options next turn? And that's
Maybe.
strategy.
Maybe.
That's the definition of strategy, making that choice between those two things. I don't think it's engaging strategy
Right.
of just like, do I make my turn more boring so that my next turn might be less boring? Like that
sounds really boring.
Yeah, that's not exactly the most fun strategy thing. Honestly, I could see myself owning this because this would be a game that I could play with my family super easily. They'd have
Yeah,
fun with it. It's
sure.
easy to teach. The actual mechanics, again, having like a more interesting theme of King of Tokyo, like that's an easy thing to get played. Like if I told my family, oh, it's kind of like King of Tokyo, but like we're Marvel and stuff, they'd be like, okay, yeah, I understand. And it'd be easy to teach them the differences then,
Right.
because they have played King of Tokyo, which is nice. This is like a next step.
Right.
For a King of Tokyo, which is a game that most people in the world have played. Even people that don't know what board games are like, oh yes, King of Tokyo. Of course, I know this. But yeah, I just overall, I find it an interesting system with some flaws, especially with how many years it's been out. It seems like some of these could have been worked on slightly. Like,
Sure.
In like the Marvel reiteration.
yeah,
kind
just
of.
like, oh, we could have added some new cool things with like passive ability and stuff, but also like Dice Throne's a
Well,
working system, so let's just do that.
Yeah, and I think they were building characters that still work within that framework.
Exactly.
And by adjusting it that drastically,
Sure, it might not.
it
be
would not make them
cross-platform
cross compatible.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it might
cross-platform.
not because they might be slightly stronger. Yeah, like
Right.
all the turns would be the same,
Agreed.
but yeah,
Agreed.
there would have to be some kind of handicap
I would almost
system.
Or like
call
leave
it
that part
like
out.
a Thunderstone versus Thunderstone Advanced, right?
Sure.
So like your next iteration, your games may take a little longer because the characters are more advanced and can do
Yeah.
more things.
Mhm.
Where, I mean, even with teaching Andrew, which not that it took a long time, but with teaching you
7
and
hours.
playing 4 players, and I played a completely new character. You guys, everybody played characters that they've never seen before
Yep.
or really have messed
Correct.
with before. So even then, a 4-player game went, I mean, relatively quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty fast.
Yeah.
So I think by adding those passive abilities that you're talking about, you're going to add time to the game, which isn't a bad
Maybe.
thing, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I'm not saying that, but I think that, kind of on brand with regular Dice Throne, that, you're not going to, if you make the Marvel characters more OP because they've got, they wouldn't be OP
Superpowers
against
and-
each other
Right.
because they would be balanced against each other. But if you were to go and play against that gunslinger or the barbarian
Mhm.
from Dice Throne season 1 or whatever, versus, say a Loki who can. Who's,
I guess
I would say that the balance may not be there anymore.
My counter to that though would be if it was just like, again, if everyone just had like a cool passive thematic ability. What Bob said is just when you're playing with the older characters, you don't use your passive ability. That's an easy fix. But then the other thing is, okay, the only difference is they have a cool thematic passive ability. Come out with a expansion that gives all the old characters a passive ability.
There you go.
But here's the other problem though. So everybody's got these slots.
Yep.
Right here, right? If you don't have that passive ability, you've got a different attack option there.
Sure.
So
but you can give him a passive ability to just add to this.
Yeah.
you
right in the
could,
center.
but then you've got to now give Black Panther a different ability.
Sure. He can't have two passives.
I mean, he could, but
I don't know. Again,
I see what you're
I just
saying.
think it makes the game. It gives the game an interesting spark that I think it doesn't have. One thing that is I'm looking at it as a positive, but you might see it as I don't know if like lazy or something is the right word, but like one thing that I like about this game is it's so simple. I mean, when you look at how the dice work and how the abilities work, so you have this, the dice, and this. That's all you need, right? The deck, I guess, kind of. But I can very easily design a character at home. I could very easily make a character, choose the abilities that they would have.
Yeah.
Uh,
How many of each dice number that they would have.
Because you're gonna have,
and then I could play against your character.
Because you're gonna have X amount of staple cards,
Right?
And then you would have whatever the number. I would be really interested to see if everybody's got like
same amount of
7
manipulation.
unique cards in
Right,
their deck,
right.
and and then all the other
Then you
cards
make-
sort of
yeah.
overlap.
Yeah, because the system is so simple and streamlined. This is a game that you can very easily make a homemade, like, oh, I really want to play as Aragorn, and you can just make Aragorn.
Yeah,
It would be
well,
super easy.
So
you know?
that's where they've set themselves up really well too, right? Because with Dice Throne, it's like generic barbarian,
Right.
Whatever,
Right.
they got a ranger character. And I don't want to say generic, but
it is. They know that.
But it
It's not
is
a specific.
it is a
character.
very broad fantasy thing,
Right.
Correct.
So by once they got the Marvel licensing, right? Like, well,
Sky's the limit.
you've got a zillion characters. If they had a Lord of the Rings, thing, boom,
Oh, yeah.
you could bang out 5-6 characters
Yep.
easy. Same thing with Star Wars, right?
I just tend to like games that I can make stuff at home for. I just
So-
like that.
Star Wars Dice Throne,
Right?
We're calling it now,
Yeah,
right? Like we
we
did Star Wars
should.
Villainous.
Yeah.
Should I say
And-
now that I haven't seen Star Wars either?
No, I don't care.
Well,
You'll
should I
still
just
play
have said
it.
it
Should we
from the
just
beginning?
cut me out of the show now?
Yeah.
No,
he's not.
let the haters
Yeah.
come on and comment.
Yeah.
It's good for clicks.
Yeah.
No, but
He says Star Wars.
I don't want
is
to cut you
dumb.
off, Dan. I was just
No,
jumping
you're
in with
fine.
that.
I don't know. Been talking for a while, covering all your guys' points. I just overall, it is a game that I could see myself playing more. I do not love it. I think it has really good bones, and the meat is kind of gammy.
No, so I'm gonna go into mine and build off of what you just said. So it's funny because even comically, so I've been playing this game a lot with a coworker, and I've been like basically play by playing my experiences on our Discord channel. So join our Discord if you want to see me in misery. But I will say my experiences with this game have been very swingy. I have gone from being totally miserable and absolutely hating this game and never wanting to play it again to actually having a pretty good time playing it. And some of that has been character dependent. There have been characters that I've played that I like a lot more. And there's characters that it's like, I don't know that I want to play them again. But with the last game we just had and like with everybody talking, I think some of my issues are that when I sat down and played Spider-Man and absolutely hated it, I think I was just playing Spider-Man wrong.
Oh, sure.
So I think like Black Panther, for example, another character I hated playing as. Hated it. I'm not sure. I don't remember, but maybe I was not leaning into that character's strengths. So then when I got to Scarlet Witch and that character made sense to me, and Loki and that character, I am like cackling with glee while I am playing as those characters. I thought Doctor Strange was a really good character and really enjoyed playing Doctor Strange. I thought Black Widow was an excellent character. Really enjoyed playing Black Widow. Like just some of the different things that she can do. Hated playing with Thor. Hated it. Maybe I didn't do it right. I don't know. So I don't know if it's me, like if I'm not playing the character, so maybe if you're not playing the characters right, you might have a bad time. Because I was literally having, when I was playing one-on-one, roles where I could do nothing. And I was even playing cards to try to mitigate those die rolls. I mean, it happened once with Doctor Strange where it's like, I even did a reroll and it still did bupkis.
Yeah.
And that's fine sometimes. But when you got somebody that you're watching if you're
And
in
they're
a duel and they're just having a great time playing
Yeah,
your
yeah.
character, and then you're like,
My defense is just
I missed. Okay, thanks. You know, it sucks. So I think I'm not going to be as harsh as what your final statement was, but I think that this is a game with excellent bones. 100%.
that could actually be a way you draw cards. Is instead of activating an ability, you take your dice, divide it by a certain number, like that. They
Oh,
would have
weird.
to divide it by
Yeah,
6.
or if
and
you
that's
if
how
you
many
didn't
cards you
activate
draw.
any of your abilities,
Yeah,
draw
draw
an
a
extra
card or
card or two.
something.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it may be a way to mitigate some of that.
Sure.
But there were times when I was playing this game where I was in complete misery, and there's times where I had a great time. And the only character I haven't tried is Captain Marvel yet. But, you know, I mean, so out of the core box, 2 out of 3. I was 50-50 on the core box.
What?
That's 4.
2 out of 3. 50,
2 out of
50.
no, I'm sorry, 2
And
out of
there's
2.
4
2
in
out
the-
of 2 here. My math is all over the place today.
Do you mean 2 out of 4?
2 out of 4.
2 versus 2.
That's 50%. Yeah.
50-50.
Okay. 2 out of 3,
50-50.
the second time you said 2 out of 2.
Oh, I'm all over the place. Listen,
It's okay.
I like I played well with half the characters in the main box.
There we go.
There you go.
Then
We're gonna have to ask
the
you to
Doctor Strange Black Widow box totally loved, and then the other box is Black Panther and Captain Marvel, and I did not like Black Panther. Haven't played as
Haven't
Captain
tried
Marvel.
Captain Marvel.
But again, so now maybe I was playing them wrong. Maybe I wasn't leaning into the strategy because I'm like,
Or they might just not be your type of
Well,
strategy.
well,
Like I don't like
also
playing
true.
stealthy kind of.
but like but what made me think about it is that when Bob's talking, you know, we're kind of commiserating about some of our complaints with the character,
Mhm.
and then Daniel's like, well, you know, some people say this and this, and it's like, well, they do have good
Oh,
points.
Okay. Yeah.
And so sometimes you may take for granted how simple it is to actually learn the game and not realize your own hubris could get in the way of going, no, I need to play Black Panther the way he's supposed to be played.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now, there were times where I was trying to get like the vibranium suit to try to mitigate some of that damage. And it
Sure.
was just garbage rolls, and I
Right.
could not do it. And I think that the randomness of also not getting the cards to upgrade your abilities sometimes can really hinder your character. I have found
Yes.
that usually I do better when I'm able to upgrade most of my character abilities, whether it's defense or just, you know, my different attacks. And then the games where I was not able to do that, usually via card draw, because that's the only thing that's preventing you is just drawing those cards. When I usually Doctor Strange, I don't think I upgraded anything. I was just doing the spells.
Yeah, he doesn't have much upgrade wise, at least
But,
from when I played.
Yeah,
it.
I don't think I saw many of the
I
upgrades
had
in here.
one,
Well,
I think at one point.
You do have a cool card though, where you're like, look at the top 2 and put one on the bottom.
Oh, that was a premonition. That is a
Yeah.
status effect there.
I really think there.
Oh
needs
yeah,
to be
he doesn't
either-
have any upgrades. in
Yeah,
here.
any
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
all
there
his
needs
spell
to
books.
be-
Book, yeah.
There needs to be more card drawing or deck manipulation because
Sure.
you have those 4 cards at the beginning and then you get the 1 card a turn.
Yeah.
And that's all you're getting. And there's not really any
Yeah,
way
which
to
like
get through that.
promotes
I mean,
you to
there's
play
a couple
slow,
of things,
which
but
is
so slow.
So-
Not fun.
Good.
Oh,
So
slow.
you know, so like all of that being said, in
I wanna see if I have
summation,
any card draw now.
this was a very hard game for me to come around on a rating because
You get a
80% of my deck
large
left.
straight
because
draw
I
card.
hated this game at times, and I had a great time with this game.
The only way I can draw a card is if I get a large straight.
Wow.
That's
and the beginning of your turn,
Right.
Man,
Well,
yeah.
yes.
correct.
The
And
only
the-
extra way.
the draw 3. Everybody should have like a draw
Yes.
3 in there.
There, draw
that
3
costs
card in there.
2.
Yes. Or if my hit
Triple
all
X.
I
8,
shouldn't have one draw.
But
three
ironically,
and a
you
deck
have to
of
draw the
40
draw 3.
cards.
So
if you don't draw it,
Well, maybe you get lucky and get the draw 2.
lucky. Yep. Yeah.
Well, I say we.
But yeah, let's go into
Go on review.
Our final
yeah,
rating.
final rating. Okay, Bob.
All right. Yeah. So
Give us
not
a
my
number.
favorite Marvel, not my other one. It's a 7 for me. I'd recommend it if you like Marvel, if you like rolling dice, I would play it. But a bunch of other dice rollers I'd rather play. A bunch of other Marvel games I'd rather play. I'm glad Tim's got it. I'm glad Mike's got it. So I'll get a chance to play it when
Yeah.
I want to play it.
Yeah, you'll see it.
And yeah. So that's it.
Andrew.
Yeah,
It's his
I'm
bag,
between
baby.
I'm between a 6.5 and a 7.
Really?
Yeah.
As much as you
I-
said you liked it.
I know.
I
He
yeah.
was like,
Well,
"This is
I
my
said it
bag."
was. I said it was a good game, and I think this goes to what you said, Bob. I have so many other dice rolling games that I would much rather play. Like this is King of Tokyo with some deeper strategy, and I mean the quality of this game is fantastic.
Mhm.
The the 4 upgradable abilities on each side. I really like that. You're never really swinging and missing unless you're Tim. That happened, twice to you?
Well, once in this game, and then multiple times in
Other
a couple
games.
of the one-on-ones.
Yeah.
I say 7 because there are things that can be added to this game, like the ability to draw more cards, the ability to manipulate your dice more. If I'm going to play a dice game where I'm rolling, especially a 3-chance Yahtzee style, I do need ways to manipulate my dice more. So this game could be an 8 if those were addressed. Other than that, the quality and the asymmetry, so cool. I don't think this game could ever get to a 9 for me, for example. That's why I chose 7, because it could get to an 8 if those small issues were addressed. And I mean, we're going to see more of these.
Yeah.
They
I'm sure they'll have
locked
more
a
characters.
Marvel license.
Yeah.
They're not just going to be 8 characters.
No,
there
and
are
this-
going to be.
I mean, we don't have
They're-
Captain America yet.
This was
There's gonna be
super.
20.
This was a super hot game at Gen Con too.
Yeah.
Yes.
So give this game 5 years and hear our plea, and I think this could increase and maybe re-release these guys in future ones that give you a little bit of, what.
I could just see Captain America with an ability. If you roll so many dice, I could do this all day, and he draws more cards, gains more combat points. That'd just be funny.
Does that have to do with who he is?
Yeah.
I've
Oh
never
my
se-
gosh,
all I know is
Andrew,
he-
watch a friggin' movie or something. All right, go ahead.
7.
7.
Yeah, I agree, Bob. It's no Marvel Champions, but it's not
Yes.
trying to be.
Oh, I know it's not trying to be.
Like,
This knows its lane, right?
Right.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I there's a part of me that wants to go lower, but I'm actually falling on a 6.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's an above average game that is well made, and I will play it again, and I think it would go over like gangbusters with my family, but it's not the best dice rolling game I played, not the best asymmetric game I played, not the best Marvel game I played, it's just this little fun game. Plus, again, out of the group, I'm the only one that's played Kapow, and I just it's not like it's a perfect game, but it does a couple things that this one doesn't. And it's just like, hey guys, maybe learn from the smaller game. You guys are the big guys, So that's it.
Well, I'm going to shock everybody because I'm going to have the highest rating for this game.
And for there's been like 2 years of you talking crap about the normal dice
so
throw.
100%. Well, let me just say the production value of this game
Yes.
and the ease of teach is worth a recommend for this game. I'm not going to recommend
Like
this
money
game.
for the-
I'm not walking up to a table of Warhammer players and be like, you guys should play Marvel Dice Throne. That's got dice. This got dice.
Yeah.
You've
you know,
convinced me.
But I think that people, I feel like this is a really good gateway game. I feel like this is an accessible. This checks all the boxes for a gateway game. Easy to learn, easy to teach, plays fast.
Yeah. I mean, Dan said,
popular IP.
this is a Yahtzee game. And I said, I immediately understand 70% of what's going to be happening.
Exactly. I think that this is so accessible. So immediately for me, even if it's not my favorite game, if it's an accessible, well-made, well-put-together game that I don't think is broken, I don't think, while I've had my issues with this game, I don't think there's anything in this game where it's like, well, that is completely broken and unplayable. Because there are games like that where it's like, it's beautiful, but it's junk, in the price
Like
point
Cthulhu Wars.
and all that stuff. Hold on, Great Wall.
Red Rising.
Okay, Great Wall's fine. That's fair. I thought you were going somewhere else. with that.
Red Rising is way overproduced for what it is, and there are way better versions of that game that are out there. This is not that. I think that this does what it does very well. It knows its area, its market. It does really well. 7.5 for me. I also agree with Andrew though. This will never be a 9 for me, but this could be an 8. I think that maybe the right characters come out, and maybe it's not fair. Like, I like this game more when I play with these characters than I do with these. Yeah. But just an overall of my experience, I did actually start to come around. This was going to be like a 5. Like when I was like in my depths of misery playing this game, but I had several really good experiences, and actually, I really thought the 2v2 play was really fun. Even
we
when
share our cards. And
even with some of the mistakes we had made with the targeting, and we were complaining about that. But while the die roll to determine isn't like perfect,
The fairest way.
It was probably the fairest way, and and I'm like, okay, and it made me want to do it again. Like,
I'll also point out that from memory, the way the King of the Hill mode works is if you choose to attack the person who has the highest health, you do not have to. If you choose to attack the person who has the highest health, you draw a card. So it's nice.
So, and I know that some people do not like house rules, but this is a game you could house rule real easy, like throw in a couple of things to,
Draw 2 cards instead of 1.
Yeah.
or if you miss, draw a card.
Or if
You
you
know.
miss, draw a card.
You know, things like that.
Yeah.
Things like that you could mitigate very easily. You could house rule, you know, whatever. It's a game. Play it to have fun. Do whatever you got to do to make it a fun experience for you. This isn't like so heavy that it's like, I can't believe you don't play the rules the right way.
Yeah. I feel like the problem with acquiring such a large license, such as Marvel, you're going to have it more reserved. Like you're going to have, like you guys were talking about the original Dice Throne and how this doesn't do much to innovate. I feel like since they don't want to roll the dice and
3 times.
sorry, to like innovate and maybe shake up the original game a little bit more, you're going to see a lot more new characters, but nothing that really pushes the
Boundaries.
limits and the boundaries to try to innovate because they know Dice Throne works. That's why Marvel put their name on it. And I'm just afraid we're not going to see.
Well, I
much
will.
variation.
I will just say that this doesn't feel like it's an IP slapped on. I feel like they actually took the time
Yeah,
to make
okay.
the characters
No, for
make
sure.
sense and things like that.
If you take all of our scores and you average them together,
Wait, what was your score?
I 7.5.
Oh, 7.5. Okay.
6.9.
6.9.
Nice.
So just under a 7.
Yep.
Barely.
Just under.
But
You're welcome.
but I think that, I mean, even Dan, who gave it the lowest rating, might recommend it to some friends and family just because of the style of game that they like.
Yeah, it would depend on who I'm talking to, right? And like I said, I think I would gladly take this home and play with my family.
Oh,
You know,
sure,
like
sure,
they,
sure.
they would play it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, situational.
Right. And again, the tough part for me is that my experiences are so swingy.
Right.
Either like lots of fun or just I'm in hell. Get me out of here. So, but anyways, guys, other than that, it's a beautifully made game. You know, I think we've said everything.
Like
we can say.
Aragorn, you'd eventually get Andril, right?
Is that Lord of the Rings? Because I haven't.
Oh my god.
Oh my
Please, can we cut? Can we cut?
If you never see me again,
For the board game rundown, I've been Tim.
It's Bob.
I'm Andrew.
Damn.
Thanks for watching.